Welcome to the Very Merry Life podcast, unfiltered, unscripted, and always relatable as fuck. I'm your host, Mary Hendricks, and you might know me from Instagram as That Relatable AF Mama, who hopefully feels like an old friend at this point. And if not, hang tight and join in as things get real, honest, and probably a bit too TMI as I, and the help of some amazing guests, dive into all things mom life, marriage, sex, and more. No experts, just real life moms talking real life things. So get ready to laugh lots, cry occasionally, and leave feeling seen, supported, and inspired. Making friends is hard enough as an adult, let alone as a mom, but all of that changes right here and now. So hang on, lean in, virtually clink whatever glass you have nearby with mine, and let's go. All right. Hi, Alyssa.
Hey, Mary.
Hi. Yay. Well, I'm excited to have you on because, I mean, we were chatting about it, and we've chatted about this before in messages and things like that, where we're going to talk mom rage. Obviously, if you guys are listening, you'll see the title of this. And this conversation started between you and I, and I'm going to give you a second to introduce yourself. But this conversation started between you and I because of the podcast I put out. I think it's episode 6 on mine, but I broke a window and I talked about me having a very nice, lovely mom rage moment. And it's something that I don't think many people have talked about. And I'm so glad that you're joining me on this, because I want to bring on moms that can share their experience, but I'm also proud of you for wanting to be on too, because I know it's not easy. So I'm going to give you a second before we get into it. Say hello to everyone. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa. I am friends with Mary. Mary, I was thinking before, I feel like we met over 2 years ago, right? Because I think Spencer had just turned 1.
Oh, it was really?
Yeah. And you had under 6,000 followers.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was the early days. Anyway, my name is Alyssa. I am a New Jersey native as well. And I have 3 under 3. I have 2.5-year-old twins and a baby who's almost 9 months already. Can you believe it?
Well, yeah. Haley's going to be 8 months tomorrow.
It goes so fast. Yeah. And Mary and I met on Instagram. I'm Sal the Twin Squad. Yeah. Anyway, and I've loved watching you grow and succeed. It's been awesome.
Same with right back at you. That's the thing. It's like, it's weird. But it's like the amount of followers doesn't really matter. It's like how you speak with people.
It's the connections.
Yeah.
Totally. Totally.
No, yeah. I was thinking about that on the car right there. Cause I've been so thrown off with time with like, even today I went to like some event, but she looked at me and she's like, when did I see you last? I was like, it's almost in May. It's far away, but I was like, in May, it's going to be 2 years. And she's like, what?
I know time goes so fast,
because I forget, like, pregnancy went on and now it's, I mean, Luke is going to be 9 months.
I know, it's insane.
That's like the almost length of a pregnancy. It's like, it's nuts. But I know when you were pregnant, when you got pregnant with Luke, I was one of the first that you,
yes, you were.
You told.
You were. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had like 3. I think I had 3 girls within that time period.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. And you're like, you know that.
you, Carly, and Chelsea. I don't know if you're connected with Chelsea,
I'm
right?
not sure, but yeah, Carly, that's right.
Yeah, her account's like Newbert Chels. She had she's the IVF baby. She was pregnant with an IVF baby, and then she had a surrogate.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, she actually is. I'm going to interview her on Saturday.
Oh, is it? You mean at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Her story is amazing because
that is amazing.
Yeah. This is a sidetrack, but she'll be on Saturday. I'm going to interview her.
I can't wait to hear.
She had a surrogacy because she had a pregnancy that she lost. They didn't think she would be able to carry. And then from what I understand about it, they found a surrogate. They did IVF for the surrogate. The surrogate got pregnant on the first go with the first transfer, which was awesome. And then they kind of found a doctor, I believe, that said, let's try it in you, because why not? They got so many embryos, I think. And then
that's incredible.
They did like the lowest grade embryo. I think she said like the lowest one just out of a whim. So I think her babies are 6 6 weeks apart.
Wow. That's incredible. I can't wait to listen.
Yeah. Her story is pretty awesome, but she was the first that let me know that she was pregnant. And that was before her surrogate was pregnant.
Oh,
so I was like, I'm honored. I'm honored.
Yeah.
You guys are telling me.
I know.
And then I found out I was pregnant right after you.
You did. I remember you told me right away too. I had a lot of feelings about it because the twins were, well, Mary knows. I don't know if y'all know, but my twins were IVF babies. Yep. And Luke was a surprise. And it's really hard having twins and almost 2-year-old twins and boys.
Yeah.
And it was a lot. So when I found out I was pregnant with Luke, it was, very overwhelming. I had a lot of mixed feelings.
Rightfully so, though. Rightfully so. I think that's something that people don't
admit.
No, they don't admit, and they don't admit like gender disappointment. They don't admit.
I had that too.
Yeah, but all of it's normal. Like people don't understand it. As much as you don't want it to, like everyone says you can't live by a plan or anything. Like, but
you can still be, your feelings can be valid. Like you can still be disappointed. And I'm really happy we're talking about this, but I've been dealing with this a lot, that I thought my life would be so different. Yeah. I saw my family looking differently. I saw the spacing of my kids differently. I never wanted twins. Like I am dealing with and have been dealing with all that, like hit after hit after hit. And it could be worse. My kids, thank God, are healthy for the most part. Yeah. But, it's okay. I'm trying to make peace with the fact it's okay to be a little disappointed and still love you. It doesn't mean you don't love your family. Yeah. But it's okay to validate those feelings and say it out loud to a close group of friends or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and because everyone wants to kind of tear it down, they think because you're overwhelmed. And I think I've said this before, when you're overwhelmed with certain things, or if you're grieving, it doesn't mean that you're not grateful for it all.
Yes.
You can grieve and be grateful at the same exact time. Like it's perfectly acceptable to view that and to see that plan isn't.
Yeah. And honestly, and I'm glad that you said that you're proud of me. I'm proud of me too, and proud of you. And I wanted to tell you, Mary, at a public platform where if you're having a bad day, you can go back and re-listen to this, but you are inspiring people. You've inspired me. You've inspired many others. So if you're ever having a bad day and you think you're not making a difference, you are.
Thank you.
I want you to remember that, because I listened to that podcast. Okay. So I do influencing as well a little bit, but there are things that I wasn't comfortable talking about. And my postpartum struggle, my anxiety and depression and rage is one of those topics that I have not been comfortable talking about. I kept it private. It wasn't so, I've actually recorded stories talking about things and I've deleted them because I just wasn't quite there yet. And when I saw you post that, I'm like, that's it. I have to talk about it. Yeah. And I think we can really help people, because this is a very ugly topic. It's not pretty. It's very messy, right? Yeah. It's filled with negativity. There's nothing good or light about rage.
Yeah.
We'll be back after a quick break. Eye-Opening Moments podcasts are real-life stories of adversity, encounters, and perspectives. They are moments that can lift your spirits, give you some food for thought, or move you. For the introspective mind that likes to reflect, discover, and find solutions or meaning in a complex life, listen to Eye-Opening Moments podcasts.
Or depression.
Well, and that's why, after it happened, if anyone listening listens to the podcast of the window, I explained it happened on a Thursday, and I released the episode, and I talked about it finally on the following Tuesday. I needed time to sit with it, and after it happened, I shared a picture of it, but I didn't even explain what happened. And I remember I got a few messages saying like, well, are you going to say what happened in the window? And I explained it in DMs to some people where I was like, it might've been me. And I kind of just left it at that, but I could not come on my stories afterwards. And I didn't want to, I could have been like, I made an accident, or I could have blamed it on the kids or any of that. But I needed to sit with it, and I needed to not make it lighthearted, because I didn't want it to be like, well, mommy had a rage moment. Like mommy had a little meltdown.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't want to make it
not funny.
It's not funny, because it really is a serious thing. It's a perfectly common thing.
Super common.
So common. But it's not funny. It's not funny, and it's not fun. And 10 out of 10.
No, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I feel like the lowest person on the planet when I have things like that.
Yeah. Well, Spencer was sitting in the room because the kids were watching me, and I got so mad, and Spencer sat on the floor, and I have never seen him look at me like that.
Yeah.
And he just started crying. And I couldn't even
horrible feeling.
No, because then I couldn't take it back. There's nothing I could do to take that back. And the only reassurance I have is hopefully he doesn't remember it.
Yeah.
But I know the next few days afterwards, when I was a little snappy, he would start getting a little freaked out.
Me too.
And then I was like, oh fuck, like I've traumatized him. And I fucked up. I was like, oh God. And I was like, now it's going to be stuck with you forever.
That's exactly what happened to me after I had Luke. And you know what? I'm a little, I guess, I don't want to say mad at myself. I guess I don't really mean that, but I think I was depressed while I was pregnant with Luke.
Yeah.
And didn't want to admit it, or no one said anything to me, or I suppressed it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think I just was so depressed and then overwhelmed.
Yeah.
That I got really ragey, and I was ragey for a while.
Well,
just like you said, I was scaring my kids.
Yeah.
Like when I got home from the hospital after having Luke, I was in a lot of physical pain. I was on medication, and the medication was making it really hard for me to like follow quick conversations. And my husband, love him, but he talks very quickly.
Yeah.
And I really couldn't understand what he was saying. And that buildup of the frustration with that, the frustration with my parents, my whatever, I freaked the fuck out at dinner.
Yeah.
I was banging the table in front of my whole family, in front of my kids. And they were terrified. And like, I don't remember how long, maybe a month or two, I'd have these moments where I was like,
hit the bottom. Yeah.
And I'd scream at these twins, and they were they're two. They didn't do anything wrong. Like,
yeah. No, it sucks. There's absolutely all I can say right now is you are a very good mom. I know you personally. So I know you're a great mom. You're a great mom to those boys that love you and they adore you. So I know how horrible you feel, because I've been there. Like, you wouldn't be feeling horrible right now if you didn't give a shit. Yeah, so that's the biggest thing. There's no excusing that stuff, except for the fact that you are a human, and shit is just so hard. And I think it's the fear of talking about the hardships of this that makes us suppress
it. Totally.
Because we're not given the allowance to come home and say, like, you have a newborn. So that you're home and everyone's expecting you to have like this newborn bliss, and everyone's kind of expecting you to get on your toes again, especially like yours is a different situation because you have the twins. So this is your third baby, but technically I kind of lump your twins into one. So it's like your second.
Yeah. Second pregnancy. Yeah.
So it's people are kind of like going to look at from what I imagine is people are going to look at you thinking you're going to come home and you're going to I don't know. It's that second pregnancy, when you come home, you're kind of weird as it is, because that's when you first realize that you won't get the same allowance as you did when you had your first, when you like sit, but no, you have to still do things, even though you had a C-section, you're also a C-section mom. Like, we have to do shit. So and
I had the tubal, which was incredibly painful. For my mama friends who have not had tubals yet, don't.
Yeah.
It's really painful.
Okay.
Horrible.
Okay.
It was terrible.
Good to know.
Way worse than the C-section.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, we're in physical pain with the demands of now 3 children and family members. My husband, the dog. Oh my God, the dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's demands that are like a lot of it, like from when I read like mom rage, definition of mom rage is like intense anger that's sometimes and often unexpected. And I'm like, yes, but sometimes it's not unexpected. Like, I can see where it's all coming from. Like, it's all a bunch of shit that we just pile and pile and pile the demands on a mom. And on the flip side, like, let's say you came home and you have the twin boys and things like that. Or if I came home and my kids actually preferred Kevin, we'd be beating ourselves up. If they preferred your husband, you would still be sitting back being like, why don't they want to be with me?
I know.
So it's like because we've been then made to believe that we need to be the number one. Like, we need to be the number one. And we've been like told so many things that we now have to, like, we're drowning as it is. And at this point, it's basically you're drowning, you're treading water.
That's what it is.
Finally start drowning and you have to scream for help, except our screams come out as intense anger.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel.
Well, and when I was having these fits, and then I started, I took a toddler course, which was helpful because then I kind of like shifted my mindset a little bit about like how to handle my toddlers. Because clearly me freaking out at them was not productive. And also I don't want that to be our relationship. I don't want them to like either fear me or like, I don't want that relationship.
Yeah.
So I started doing research on toddlers, and that was helpful. And then I did start doing research on rage as well. And the biggest takeaway for me, it was saying, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Mary, it's like, that's coming out because your needs aren't being met.
Yeah.
Something is not being met for you.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for us to ask for help.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really hard for us to admit that, I think, in general. And
especially when you're a stay-at-home parent, like, I think that's a different ballgame. Like Kev, like for me, Kev is a pretty understanding guy. He will help out with all that, but I'm the default parent. I am the default. And
you're dealing with it all day. And every day.
All day, every day. And I'm also like, for me, I know my mom rage moment came because Kev is traveling out of work. I know it came from a place of resentment. I know it did, because he was traveling. And I think I was kind of just pissed. I was pissed that he could go off on business, but I think I was pissed that he kind of just announced when he was going to be away and didn't ask me.
Yeah, I get that.
Because he knows I'll run the ship. Damn right. I'll run the ship. I will run the ship. But it was more of like, I do that. It's like our trade-off. Like, I do this because I know that he is working towards a huge ass career. I know he's working so hard, and that's like kind of, I'm part of the equation and making sure that can happen. That's like the kind of the stay-at-home mom role. Holding down the fort so he can go out and, earn the keep type of thing. I get that. But I was like, I'm fucking sick of this. I was like, I want this. I was like,
I want a break or something. And a lot of, speaking of that, my husband too, he was the default parent when I came home from the hospital because I was in so much pain for a really long time. And I could really only kind of care for Luke. But Luke also, if you remember, Mary, Luke also had all the ties.
Yeah.
And the feeding issues, and he wasn't gaining weight. And of course, I'm like, I'm a terrible mother. I didn't even want you. Now you won't eat.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I can't even say that out loud without like hating myself, without cringing. But that's true. I mean, I forgot what I was saying, but yeah. Where was I going with that?
You're saying with him not eating at home.
Oh, my husband, he is an amazing dad. Like he could handle the three of them totally, be totally competent. He is very involved, a very involved parent. Part of that might have been just his nature, but part of it might have been because my twins are born March 10th, right before the pandemic. And with twins, you're already equally numbered. So he kind of had to really help out a lot in the beginning. We couldn't have, our parents didn't meet the babies for over a month.
Yeah.
Well, in the hospital, they saw them, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. When you got home. Yeah.
Yeah. We kind of had to do it together.
Well, and even I was talking tonight at the event that I was at, I was talking about, there's definitely a drastic difference between the COVID world bringing babies in and the post-pandemic world. And I think this time the things that have like started to hit, like pandemic world was hard because you had babies and you thought the world was on fire and you thought it was gonna like blow up type of thing.
Or that my kid was going to die by going for a walk.
Like, that was like a different stress, but everyone was doing it. So everyone was like, you didn't have places to be anymore. You weren't feeling the pull of you weren't feeling the tug of your past life so much when you were a parent. This time, I think like for Kevin and I, we feel the pull of like I'm picturing like my past self, like saying like, come on, like, and me being like, I can't, like, that's how I feel and Kevin, I know we even feel it together where he went to a wedding last week and he was kind of bummed that I couldn't go.
Yeah.
The kids are sick. They're sick. So I couldn't do anything, but I probably wouldn't have been able to go anyhow because Haley won't take a bottle.
Haley's, I know that's got to be incredibly hard, Mary.
It's pain in my ass. But I just told him, and I said, and I could tell that he's bummed. And I told him and reminded Kevin, I was like, you have to understand. I was like, we had the two and that was hard in and of itself, but we weren't fighting to get back into our world because no one could do that.
No one was. Yeah.
I said, but now we're starting to feel the FOMO, like that fear of missing out. And it's kind of hitting us a little bit different. Where it's like, oh, I can tell people are living their lives again. And now we're still in the house.
That's a really good point. And I like kind of just lived my life, like kind of just lived. Like that's a really good point though. Yeah. I think I resent Paul in a way, my husband in a way, in like a little different way. I wish he would have noticed that I was suffering, or I wish someone did. You know what I mean? Like, I wish you would have said to me, Alyssa, like you aren't yourself.
Yeah.
It took me seeing my kids afraid of me. And then it took me scoring really low on the postpartum surveys.
I have a question for you. Were you brutally honest on those things?
I was.
I'm glad that you were.
I was honest, yeah.
Because I know I hate those tests.
I know, because you know what the answer, you know
what answer they're looking for. So it's like, how would I would just respond the way that they want, because you're
I was honest about it. And the first two were borderline. And then the third one was like really high or whatever. It was because Luke wasn't eating and gaining weight. And I was very stressed about that. So when she said that, the doctor, then I was like, okay, I'll look for a therapist. So I did reach out to a therapist, and I've been seeing her now for a while. And I'm actually on antidepressants. I'm someone who like rarely takes any sort of like for a headache, I rarely take medicine.
Yeah.
So for me to get to a point where I'm taking, a medicine every day.
Yeah.
But that was the right choice for me, I think, because I'm in a much better place between that, the therapy, that knowledge, like doing research and stuff. Like, I don't know, it was the right choice for me. But I will also say, Brandy Rodriguez, Better with Brandy.
Yep.
She messaged me. I don't remember when, but she was like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "You just seem a little like sad or something." Like, she actually did. And that takes a lot of guts and a lot of bravery, especially for someone that you don't know all that well. I mean, we're friends on Instagram. We've never met in person, but I thank her a lot. Like, I'm like, thank you for saying something, because it was probably hard for you to say, but It was nice.
I can tell you this. She reached out to me before she reached out to you.
Oh, she did. She's
yeah.
so
And I know when she reached out to me, that's when I think I texted you to try to get together when we could. And then life was going on, but it was so hard. And I can tell you from a side where I even told her, because her and I were in conversation, and and I didn't say, and I told her, because I said, I don't want to, that is such a fine line, but I want to touch on
it is a fine line.
Because I told her, I said, I don't want to say it to someone who isn't. And then like, it can be hurtful. It can be hurtful if you're wrong. So I remember kind of being there, and I was like, and especially because you and I were both in our baby bubbles where I wasn't enough, where I was like, I told her, I was like, you should reach out. I was like, maybe just touch base. Cause I was like, I don't know.
It was really sweet.
I do know that she was concerned enough to be like, I want to reach out. I'm nervous and I don't know. And I mean, at the worst, I don't think there's a worse way, but from your perspective, how do you think people should approach it? Just say it.
I don't know. However, Brandy did was like really sweet. It came from a place of love and caring, not judgmental. It was really just like, I want to ask you, how are you doing? Like, you just don't seem like yourself. Something like that. Like, it was very, I did not take it offensively. Now others might, but I did not. I thought it was very sweet that she and like that's one thing I think that I struggle with, because I'm like, why didn't my husband say something to me? Now, probably because he was picking up the slack.
Yeah.
He was so focused on the kids. Like, we were very much in survival mode.
Yeah. Well, I think it's such a fun, again, it's such a touchy subject, like, because you almost, really, and I think for maybe women probably recognize it maybe a little bit better, but I don't know. Men, I'm sure do too, but I think, I don't know, women are fascinating creatures. So we're like, especially when you're postpartum, just those crazy hormones are everywhere, where
I think also it would depend who said something to me.
Yeah.
Like, now that I'm thinking about it, if my mom said something to me, I'd probably brush it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that it was Brandy, like, I don't know. It was very clear. It came from a place of love and compassion and kindness.
Yeah.
It was not in any way trying to put me down.
Well, and that's like the power of the social media right there. I think that's like the social media can be incredibly toxic, but I think that right there, I think the connections that can be made, because I mean, I know you, I know with following your story and your Instagram, like you're as honest as it comes. Like, I think we all kind of get on our stories, and I think that's where it's turned into a really great space to be able to share this. And hopefully now that you're sharing this, you will feel inclined to share more.
I certainly will.
It's definitely, we all need it. I mean, even when I asked like on my stories, I did like a poll. I think it was like 93, 95 like percent had all experienced rage at some point. I don't know who the 5% that said they hadn't are, because I feel like at some point everyone's going to feel rage. And I think people are viewing it as like do you need to break a window? No. Do you need to like scream? No, it could be in a different way.
It could be, but it might be that too. And that doesn't make you a bad person, or it doesn't make you a baby or immature.
It doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're anything. It just means that you're a human.
Yes. You're human.
And shit gets piled on you. And I'm always saying it. The moment you get you're getting a title change. You're not getting anything else other than that. When you birth a baby, you're getting a title change with a few other things, but it's
no pay raise.
Yeah, nothing. It's not anything. It's a title change, and the world is going to just keep moving. The world doesn't stall the moment you become a parent. So nothing changes for the rest of the world.
Right.
It's just, it's a beast.
It's a beast. And you know what? To that point, also there is some biological shift as well, right? Like my connection with my kids is just different than my husband's. Like they were inside me, they grew inside me, right? Like our instincts are different. So when Luke wasn't eating, I might have even said this to you, Mary, probably. I was like, I feel like a failure. I feel like I am failing. My body, women's bodies were like created to bear children, right?
Yeah.
What they did, but my uterus, excuse me, like a frog in my throat.
Take a swig of wine.
Yeah, that's it. Knock it right out.
Yeah.
My uterus was like really thin. I might have told you. So I kind of felt like a failure in that way. But like, okay, like you can't have any more kids because your uterus is like depleted.
No.
I couldn't breastfeed for whatever reasons. Like maybe it was selfishness. Maybe it was just overwhelming to me. Like part of it was I wanted to sleep. I felt like I needed sleep to care for everybody else. So I slept through something.
Yeah, and you do.
But I felt like a failure there. Then we went to a national formula shortage right after I dried up. Yeah. Like it was just hot. It's just it.
Well, we get told all these things, but yes, you're not a failure. You're not.
No. And that's what people listening need to know. Like it may feel that way, but that is not the truth. That is a story you are telling yourself.
No, because there is no one perfect body. No. There's no one perfect body. There's no one perfect thing. So, I look at it as in like, for me, even I was thinking this other day with the kids having RSV. I'm so glad we're living right now, because I'm so glad that we're living right now. And I'm so glad that we have what we have to our expense, because it's not like things have changed. It's not like all of a sudden, like if you were born 100 years ago, you would have not experienced any of this shit. You still would have, you just would have had zero support, and you probably just wouldn't have ended very well.
Yeah, exactly. We are lucky.
It's just, you make the decision from there on out where, your body, if your uterus was, too thin, you still carried it till 9 months. And if you hadn't to 9 months, then you carried it to preterm.
As long as I could. Yeah.
Then your body did what it needed to do. Your body did its mission, and that was it. And with the breastfeeding thing, you're the one that chooses to feed them. So whether you're feeding them or not, the baby doesn't care. The moment you get that milk in that mouth, whether it's formula or milk, they don't care.
And you know what? You get through it. We did the tongues. We did the frenectomy. He had the frenectomy, and he's eating great now. Like it's just, look, it's always going to be something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just, I
was
not regulated.
There's no perfect. There's zero perfect in any of it. And I don't know where this like idea comes from, because no mom is ever going to get it perfect. No mom is like ever going to have, I failed to find there. It doesn't exist. It does not exist where you can have the perfect birth experience. You can have the perfect breastfeeding experience paired with it. And you can have all of these things, but I guarantee that mom is still at some point going to feel like she's drowning.
Yeah, of course.
It all, like there's zero perfect in any of it. And then you can have a mom that has a really shitty birth experience and a really shitty breastfeeding experience. And maybe she's rocking everything else. I don't know. Like there's just zero perfection in any of this. And I don't know why. It's a war. Like moms are just at battle. And you know what? It's the worst of it. It's the moms. It's moms that are doing this to each other. It's not
the women. Yeah,
it is. It's totally us women that are just pulling each other down. We're just like, it's like when one's drowning, they always say like usually two people
bring everyone down. Too.
Yeah. Like that's why if you're drowning, it's easy. It's that you got to protect your peace.
Yeah.
That's why I'm very good at it, because if not, one person drowning could easily just drag you on down.
Take everyone down. Yeah.
But,
I know, Mary.
Yeah. Trust me. I feel
I punched my raging. I told you I slammed the table, but I punched a hole in my closet door. Punched a hole in the closet door. Amazingly, I didn't like break skin or like.
Did that feel so fucking good though?
It did.
Yeah, see.
But then I had like a hole in my closet.
Isn't that the worst? Is having a tangible evidence?
Yeah, it is. It's just a reminder of like how unstable I was or am or whatever. Like,
yeah, I'm literally right now staring at
that window. Yeah.
And I'm going to have to later pay for it.
How long? When's that baby getting fixed? Everything takes forever.
I know. That's why when I called after it happened, I called some companies and
they're like ASAP.
Well, yeah. And I was like, you come out today? And they're like, no, we won't be able to come out. It was Thursday when it happened. They were like, no, we won't be able to come out until like Monday or Tuesday. And I'm like, okay. So we went out later that day and got stuff. And then when I had someone on the phone, she said, well, if we come out, we measure, we quote. And I said, how long until like it can get installed? She said, well, we're looking at like a 6 to 8 turnaround time, 6 to 8 week turnaround time. And I'm like,
so you have to stare at
thing. Yeah, probably till Christmas. I don't know. But some guy came out and he said he can come in like, I think that was last week. He said 4 weeks or so.
Oh my God.
So it's a little bit earlier than 6 to 8 weeks, but
still long. Oh gosh.
So that, and that was the other thing is like, I was very close to lying to Kevin about what happened.
Mary, I understand.
I was so close to just like telling him that the kids threw a toy, but I told him
the thing. And again, like, because this is shape, it is something that is ugly and it's not pretty and no part of it is pretty. It's all ugly.
Yeah. It's all ugly. There's no beautiful part. The beautiful part of it is the bigger picture that will come out of it. Like and the
healing.
Like you can look. The biggest thing that I always say is like, because I think motherhood, when we point out the really ugly parts, it's really uncomfortable. It's not a
terrible
portion, but it's a very ugly part of a much more beautiful picture.
And that's how you grow, right? Like same with like building muscles, right? If you're doing the same thing,
it has to be through hard. It has to be through hard shit. It's resiliency. Yeah. It's like the beautiful part is the resilience that's going to come out of it. That's why, I mean, I've always been against bouncing back term. I hate the word bouncing back, but I because there's no getting back to it, but it's just bouncing forward. You're going to fall down. Yeah, you're going to get back up and you're going to keep walking forward.
Yeah. That's
back to what you were doing. You're going to figure out a new stance on things. And that's what you got to do. That's the only way I can like view that fucking window that's staring at me right now is like, just knowing that I saw those moments and whether they were a cry for help or they basically are a cry for help. Like
that's what it is. I think you're right.
What did I see once? It was I don't know if it was a video or if it was a quote, and it was like, basically the way you view
cat or baby?
Cat. No cat.
Hi. Hi, puppy.
I saw a quote that said each animal is born with the innate ability to ask for help. So like if you think about it, a dog is born whining, like a dog is born like those things. Babies are born crying.
Yeah.
So crying is a call for
help.
Like,
that's
if you think about it, like a baby's cry is their way to communicate.
Yeah.
And we shut that down and we are just told to not do that shit. And then we keep on moving forward and we see it as a weakness when really it's our way of communicating sometimes. Yes. And it's just like, I think that's what mom rage just gets encapsulated. It just all bottles and then we blow.
Totally.
And it's a cry for help. That's all it is. It's literally a cry for help that comes out in a very scary way.
It is.
And I encourage anyone that's listening, don't brush it off. Like, don't brush it off. Like, take a deep look at yourself, forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself. And
I am human. And say that if that'll help. This is a cry for help. So let me evaluate my needs. What's being met, what's not being met.
Yeah. And see what changes can be done. Like that's what needs to happen. And if you feel like you're not in a position where changes are possible or any of that, talk to someone. Like talk to someone where I mean, I hope
a professional
professionals are worth it. I just started a therapist last week. It was great.
I heard, I was listening. I know you said it in your podcast.
Yeah. Except this yesterday, I talked to her yesterday and she was like, how was your week? And I was like, actually really good. And she's like, what do you want to talk about? I was like, I don't know.
I know. Sometimes it can be that way.
Yeah. I was like, I had a good week. And I'm like, but that's what I do sometimes where I talk to someone and I'm like, I feel good now. I feel healed.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So how was your, was that kind of like the only time you felt out of control or?
No, pandemic fucking rocked my world. I remember having a moment. I think it was the pandemic and I think it was after like as Spencer got older. I'm trying to remember when, but I remember having like a moment of really fucking slamming the doors.
Yeah.
Cassidy has a hole in her closet that I kicked. So
now is it like, did it spark from not, this might come out wrong. I hope you mean what I mean. Does it spark from interactions with the children?
Like the way they interact with me?
Yeah, maybe. I think that's what mine are. It's when they're not like, well, I haven't had an outburst like that in a while now.
No, I think, the last one was the window. I think
that was a kid, right? That was something like someone wasn't listening or.
Yeah, they were really they were like couch cushions were thrown off the couch.
Oh, yeah.
Toys,
okay.
They dumped a bunch of toys. That's why I walked over to the toys and they dumped them.
Yeah. Okay.
But I can tell you from a bigger perspective, because I like really analyzed it. And I was like, cause that should not have, because there are plenty of times that my house can become a mess.
Yeah.
And
you have a high tolerance for that.
Yeah. I have a high tolerance for it until I don't.
Until you don't.
Until I don't. But a lot of times when I don't, it's because, and this is why I've like tried to be really good. It was because I had work to do on my phone.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, my phone is sometimes you know what it is? And I've talked to my therapist about this last night. Your phone and social media are dopamine hit.
Yeah.
It's an incredible dopamine hit. And when it's like someone I'm going to relate it. I can only relate this in working out. And this is going to sound weird. When I work out, I become a ginormous bitch.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. So if you interrupt my workout, I will bite your head off.
Because you're in your zone.
I'm in my zone, but I think it's a dopamine thing. Like you're interrupting someone's high. Like that's what it feels like. And I think I had work that I just wasn't prepped on. Like I had stuff that I think I was trying to get a caption up or I was trying to respond to something, whatever it was, I just wasn't prepared. And I think I looked around and I felt too scattered. Like I felt too scattered. And I said this in like the podcast when I explained it, like I see noise, like that's how how it feels to me is like, when I see clutter, it just feels like.
Yes, me too.
Clutter would be if too much noise was playing. I don't really understand.
Yes, clutter gets like that because I can't concentrate.
Yeah,
it impairs my ability.
So like, and then I had work stuff that I was trying to send out, and I couldn't think, and then they were screaming and fighting each other, and then I think compounded on top of that is
heaven's away.
Like I want to do really well at this. Like, I think for me, I want to do really well at this whole Instagram thing. Like I'm not a perfectionist, but I am with this because I really want to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
With it.
I get that.
I'm like, I've turned this into my job.
You really have. And you've done I've watched you. I told you, I think I saw you. You didn't even have 6,000 followers. And you really have you, and I remember you saying this to me when I don't remember when it was, but before you like really, really took off and you're like, I have big plans for this page. I'm like, yeah, you do, Mary, you're going to get it.
Yeah. Well, that's how you're doing a good job. Thank you. But that's how I feel. And I think sometimes I want this so bad, but I think sometimes I'm not also taken, not from any, some people don't take me seriously and they see it as more of a hobby. So I think it was just a bunch of things that were in my head at once where and then Kevin was away. and he was going away and all of that stuff where I just lost my shit. I was like,
totally.
I carry the weight. Like I carry so much weight on me of trying to like juggle mom life, but juggle businesswoman life.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, juggle wife life. Like it's just so much stuff where I was like,
so much is on our shoulders.
I was like,
I also find when we're on our, like when people are on their phones, it just looks like social. It doesn't look like work, just an appearance thing. Right.
Yeah.
It's like in the car, same thing. I'll be applying to like, campaigns in the car, like when we're driving places, and Paul's like, you've been like just playing on your phone. I'm like, actually, I've been working this whole time, but it just looks like it's just an appearance thing. I find that that's a struggle for me too. I like,
because it's a very weird thing. I think the social media thing is a very weird,
yeah,
where it's just people don't understand it fully yet.
Yeah,
where it's like this, it really can't. It's marketing. Like if you think of it, it's marketing. It's just a personalized contractor. Like I'm a independent contractor.
Yeah,
marketing company.
Exactly.
That's the way I like to view it. It's very weird. So yeah, I think it was just a bunch of compounded stuff.
Yeah.
But I know I think the last time I know the hole in Cassidy's closet, that was when I was pregnant.
Yeah. I don't remember.
Kevin doesn't know about that. So if he listens, he will know about that.
Yeah,
I lied to him about that and told him that it was the kid.
The hole in my closet. But see, I think mine is a lot of frustration. Well, it's a combination. Like you're saying, it is not one thing. I am tired. The other thing I realized, and this is a good tip for anyone listening to who can, is going, me too, to this podcast. I wasn't eating enough. I was not taking care of myself at all. Yeah. So I've been working with my friend Rachel, who's a dietitian, and she's like, yeah, you're like not consuming like anywhere near enough calories or protein. She's like, you need to have 20 grams of protein. I'm like, oh, a day? She's like, a meal.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm anywhere. I was not nourishing my body at all.
Yeah. I can tell you the day I broke the window, I didn't have any meal in me.
Yeah. See, it's everything.
Yeah.
We really do. And this is where some old school people will say self-care, selfish and blah, 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 blah. But it's not, because me acting that way was not helping anybody. It wasn't helping my kids. It wasn't helping my marriage. It wasn't helping my family at all. I need to make sure I'm eating enough and sleeping, and
we need to. I think at some point we get told so much that like our kids come first, but if you're going to put your kids first, you need to make sure that you are a strong base. Like you cannot put anyone above you if you are too weak to even hold them. Like that's not a really good point. Going to be possible. So you need to make sure that you are keeping yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all those things in check, strong, so you can do so. And I know, like for me, I definitely this pregnancy, I don't think I struggled as much with the second, but this pregnancy, I struggled to eat. Like I just forget.
Well, you had 2 other kids.
Yeah. Well, by the time I'm like sitting down and like wanting to have food,
someone else wants something,
or they steal my food. Like they come and take it from my hands, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's really hard.
No, it's so much. Like it's so much where we don't even realize like the weight of what. But that's the thing, is no one talks about the weight of what motherhood brings on. And a lot of it, I've heard this before, like motherhood was not meant to do alone. Like it was, really was not villages. Yeah. Like we were not meant to do this by ourselves, and the world is getting more and more isolated as we go on. Like you just don't see these people coming in anymore, because we're so in our heads that if anyone even tried to help us, you're going to probably push them away. Like you don't even want it, because you're almost kind of like, no, I got this. Like we're trying so hard to prove to ourselves that we have got it by ourselves. And that's unnecessary. We don't need to have, like, you're allowed to have heart. You're allowed to have hard moments. You're allowed to say it's a success if someone else also helped you. Like, you're not a failure just because someone else lended a hand.
No.
Like,
yeah, we have to totally shift. We have to like kind of totally shift our mindset now.
Well, and I think about it from like a personal training aspect, because I used to like personal train people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like having like a light bulb moment. Like, I used to, like I said, like, we're not a failure if someone helps you succeed. Like, we're not any of that. Like, I think of when I used to have to spot people squatting.
Yeah.
You would have people that are trying to PR. So like, that's their personal record, their best they're ever going to get. They would do that. And I would have to stand behind them. And I would have to make sure that I was still guiding them around. And when they got up and they went down, that was their success. That was not mine. That was it. They finished it. They completed their goal. That's right. I would be right behind them to make sure that they were being assisted. It was still there. It was still there. They still succeeded. I don't know why we don't do that with.
Agreed.
So.
Well, I'm happy that people like you and other people that we follow are talking about it, because it makes it more normalized. It makes it okay to ask for help. My mother-in-law, thank God, they moved right up the road, 15 minutes away. Thank God. And they spent the whole day with her today.
Yeah.
I went to go take pictures of my new nephew, and I was going to pick them up. And then my husband was like, why don't they just stay there and I'll pick them up after my haircut? I'm like, don't hate that.
No, right.
It's very helpful, because it's nice to be able, and I know a lot of people I'm very lucky that they moved close by.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have that little break. I've been feeling so much better. I'm a better mom.
Well, of course you are. Like, everyone needs that. But that's the problem. It's like, even if you don't have family, and I have so many people in like DMs and stuff that say like, I don't have family and things like that. And that I get, like, it sucks. Like, even tonight, like I have family nearby, but my mother-in-law is too old to care for my kids at this point.
Yeah.
My husband's mom is a lot older. So she can't comfortably watch the kids. My sister-in-laws can't do it. And then my family, my mom and dad watch the kids, but I could only be gone for an hour. Like, I knew that it was going to be too much. Because they're not used to it. They're not used to like the toddler stage of knowing, like the little kids stage of knowing.
It's so hard. And they get into like they get into mischief so quickly. It's like an Olympic sport. Like,
it's amazing actually what they can achieve.
It's amazing.
Yeah. No, well, and that's how they are. But the thing is like, I would love, like, my friend, I met a girl that lives in the development across from us. She was so sweet. And she, when I was pregnant, she would offer to bring Cassidy over and just have her play.
Oh, so nice.
And I was like, it was so nice. And I felt so bad because I couldn't reciprocate it, because I think it was when I was pregnant. And then when I first had Haley, and I couldn't reciprocate.
You'll get there
at some point, but that's what we need to start doing. But I think what happens is we're so on eggshells around other moms, where we're so afraid of what they're going to judge us for.
That's true.
And I say this all the time, like, especially like on my page. And I talked about this recently on like the podcast I did with Kev, but I got so much shit for talking about politics on my page, and to each their own. But I was like, I'm trying to get away from all that. Like, you and I know where we stand, but I said, I don't like to bring it up, because at the end of the day, I want some root purpose to be here. And that was like the thing when I shared about the mom rage. I had women from all over the world. I had followers from Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Ireland. And I know Canada, like, I don't have so many South America or like super European countries, but I have people all over that literally just all came in and said, like, we are experiencing the same.
Yeah. It's not unique.
Exactly.
That's the thing. It's not unique. And again, it is ugly and gross, and you don't want to talk about it, but we're all going through it.
No, and that's why the thing, like, that's what we need to get back down to. We need to get back to the base level of motherhood, where we're all just trying, and all the other stuff is just coming in as noise. And that's what's happening, is we've got so much noise where we're tippy-toeing around each other where we don't want to help each other. We don't want to, like, we're so afraid to interact.
To be bold. I agree.
And we don't need to be like, that's what we need to get away from, is like the shit that's confusing everyone.
I know. I agree with you, Mary. And I think that might be why there are some things I just don't, I talk about a lot. I'm pretty real on my page too. Like I always look like a mess. That's kind of relatable for a lot, I think. I washed my hair for you, Mary, so it's not dirty.
It looks beautiful.
Thank you. On our podcast.
I like the postpartum hair. I can see it.
Can you see? Yeah. How's yours coming in? Nice.
It's starting. You can't see it.
Oh yeah, I can see. But your hair's light, like fine, like light.
Look at I wore like braids yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I can wear these.
Yeah, look at
I pulled back. I was
really beautiful.
Yeah, all of this.
Mine are all gray too, like right here in this.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, all of this. I was like, oh my God.
I love it. Yeah. I don't know. But again, there's some things I just wasn't comfortable talking about. And this, like this like mental health, the rage, I was embarrassed. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, but
it's embarrassing that you lose your shit.
Yeah, but it doesn't need to be. And that's
it doesn't
what needs to come in is like, it just
is.
It just is.
It just is. And
just is. It's just something. It's not anything to be embarrassed about. It's nothing to feel ashamed about. It's just life. It's life. Yeah. And at some point, if you don't have kids, you're probably going to lose your shit.
I'm something, right?
Everyone's going to lose their shit at some point because life is hard.
It is.
Life is hard. It's full of really hard moments, but overwhelmingly at the end, it's beautiful. And I think the biggest thing that I know a lot of moms, like when I shared the rage thing, some moms contacted saying like, I'm so disappointed in myself because they want to be the cycle breakers.
I know.
And I said,
but just because you have one or two or three.
But you are. Like the moment you're recognizing it. And I think that's a generational shift. What's happening now is we are realizing that we can say hard things because the generations before us, if they lost their shit, guess what? The kids are wrong. I'm right. It was your fault.
Right.
That I lost my shit. That's how it was. They didn't admit that they were wrong. They did not admit that they had a bad moment. And I think that's the biggest takeaway that we can learn is like, were my kids bouncing off the walls? Were your kids probably misbehaving in areas? And
not listening. Absolutely.
Absolutely. But we kind of owned, they're two. Like they're two. My kids are 5 or almost 5, 4 and 3 and whatever. They're kids. At the end of the day, we're adults. The way we reacted was we're the adult enough to be able to admit that maybe our response wasn't appropriate for their actions. And I think that's the biggest lesson that we could teach our kids. We got to teach our kids something. Like how boring is that going to be if we get to the end of this whole journey and we had nothing to teach them?
Yeah, you're right. I think you're totally right. And I think again, seeing, I don't know, like educate that. One thing that also helped me was then I started to do researching toddlers, researching how to deal with them, researching about rage. Where does that come from? What are some coping strategies? And once I had a little more knowledge, I felt better.
Yeah. Well, and I find for me, and someone asked me on my stories tonight, how I deal with mom rage. And I think the biggest thing that I have started to do is intentional time. Intentional, like you turn off all screens.
Yes.
You turn off your phone.
Yes.
You set a timer each day. Put your phone away. Put your
good idea.
Away, put your phone away or TV away. Everything. Get on the floor and play with your kids. And I know it's not. I know playing with my kids sometimes is like shoot me, but it doesn't have to be long.
I love it. Even if I wish I could play with them all day. But I overwhelm myself with the messes and the dishes. You know me and dishes, Mary. You know me and dishes. I know you and laundry. Me and dishes.
Laundry I got going on.
Sorry about the train. The train literally. Did you know this fun fact? So where I live, it's either the busiest train over a road or the busiest road over a train in the country.
Oh shit!
I can't remember which one, but.
Are you like,
so you're going to hear this a lot. I don't hear it anymore, but
no. No, playing with the kids. Like, and
I love it. I know, but that's the thing. I get so overwhelmed with all the other shit I need to do. And all I want to do is just play with them. They're so fun right now.
But I guarantee if you just dedicate like 20 minutes, 20 minutes, doesn't have to be long, 20 minutes of just doing that, that's going to do more than anything else. And it's going to reconnect you with your kids. I find that that's a big help with me, because sometimes we get so in a flow of being, it becomes Groundhog Day. Like you get in such a rhythm of like, this is first,
you're right.
Then you do that. And you get in such a monotony of our roles. Like I'm a mom, they're my kids. I'm a mom, they're my kids.
This is,
you kind of tune out from who they are and who you are. And then you're going to lose your shit because you don't have a connection.
The connection. Them. And I was just having a light bulb moment. I think that also has to do, I'm either not feeling connected to my husband or not feeling connected to the kids, like in a productive way. Like, yes, I'm connected physically. We're in the same space. I'm caring for them, but you're right. I think that was really I think you're right. I think that
it's connection. But, and then even if like playing isn't your thing,
reading a book.
Well, not even that. Like my mom and I were talking about this because my mom, like she grew up, my grandparents were like in their mid 40s when they had my mom. My mom was the youngest of 7.
Oh, okay, cool.
So she said, she's like, by the time my mom had me, she was older. She was older and she didn't want to, like, by the time I was old enough,
having horsey on the back.
Yeah. She didn't want to do that. Like parents didn't do that. I grew up as the young, like they were in their 50s by the time I got like into an age where that was the case. And she said, they didn't want to do that. But she said, I will tell you back, in the 60s, she said, the biggest thing I can remember is I would just sit on the floor and color. And my mom, they didn't have cell phones back then, but she said, I'd sit on the floor and color. My mom would just sit there with her cup of coffee and watch.
Yeah. Connection.
And she said, well, and then she said, but if you think about it, if you watch a movie with your husband or you watch a movie with a friend, if both of you guys are on your phone,
not connected,
but even if you're watching a movie, but don't you feel like connected if you are both in tune watching the same movie?
Yeah.
It's a different level. Like when you're in the same sphere and you actually are doing the same thing together, it doesn't matter what you're doing, but when you're like two different people doing two different things, even if you're in the same space, forget it. Yeah. So it's just that's one thing I've learned is like, even if I'm not in the mood,
but just like you posted that today
and just sit
in your stories, you posted something I put my phone up and you were being present with Spencer and Cassidy.
Yeah.
In that picture, you know what I'm talking about today?
Yeah. That's what I put up. Yeah. So that's why I did that. But I think that's the biggest thing that I can, like, my learning lesson from that is intentional time.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And again, mine was a little more of a deeper rooted problem, I think, like depression, anxiety. So seeking out professional help.
Yeah. Well, and there's no shame in that. Like, I'm so glad that you did that. Like, I think so many of us like look at medications and things like that. I would totally take that shit if I, felt like I needed it.
I know it's been helpful. I'd like to not be on it like my whole life, but I kind of am just thinking it's temporary. Like right now I feel good. So I don't want to change something and not feel good. I also was listening to like your wine. Oh my God. I love that podcast. I was like dying. But I noticed, and Mary, you and I have talked about this too. Remember when we would do virtual cheers, like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
However long it was now.
Yeah.
I noticed, like, I went away on a girls' trip and I came back and I was really depressed. Like, I felt really sad. And I was taking my medication. I was doing my adrenal cocktail. I was being cautious of like the food I was eating and stuff. And I was away from my kids, like in the chaos. I was on vacation, but I drank more than I normally do.
Oh, it's
and when I came back, it's a depressant. And I really did feel it. And I feel like I never noticed that before until just recently, but I'm noticing that now too. So I am trying to.
Same with me.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to put out that podcast. And like when I did that reel, and I did that podcast, I'm like, some people think I'm defending being able to drink. And I'm like, no, you've got to be conscious of what you're drinking, because I am the first to tell you, we both are drinking wine right now. Like I am the first to tell you, but I can tell you from a dark side of it that I got to a point where I remember, you know what? I think the moment when I really had a rage moment, I remember slamming the closet doors. I don't even remember. I just know I was in my hallway and I slammed them so hard. And I remember hitting them and saying to Kev, I can't do this anymore. I can't fucking do this. And I went upstairs and I couldn't even breathe. And I remember I was drinking wine, but I think I was getting to a point where you know what? It might've been because he called me out for drinking wine. And it was during the pandemic. I was just like, I thought the world was on fire. At that point, I was like, fuck this. I was like, I'm just going to drink wine. But I can tell you, there's such thing as anxiety. Like if you drink too much, I guarantee you're going to feel like anxious at some level.
I was really down. Like I felt really down.
Yeah. So it's all about balance. It's about balance. Cause I love wine. I love wine so much.
Too. I
refuse to let it go.
Me too.
You have to recognize, you have to sit down with yourself and really have a good conversation.
That's it.
About how you're feeling before all of this. Every night, have a good, honest conversation with you in your head as to how you're feeling.
Yeah. And especially after those raging moments.
Yes.
Because again, it's a call for help. So just take a step back. Yeah. Sit with it.
Yeah. Sit with it. You don't have to speak on it right away. Just sit.
Agreed, Mary.
And if you need someone to sound it off on, just
DM me. I'll listen.
Yes, yeah, DM both of us. I'm a pretty good listener. I'm not like
no judgment.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. Oh my God. There you go. But so yay. Well, I'm glad we talked about this garbage.
Me too. Again,
it's the garbage. It's the garbage parts of motherhood. It
really is. It's really ugly. It's really ugly, but it is so real. And I think so many more people struggle with this than they'd like to admit. And that's okay. You don't have to come out publicly and say it. But if you're listening and you've had moments like this, no, you're not alone because we have too.
No, yeah, we have too. And so same with all the people that like message me, the amount of
that's great.
It's just, it's amazing how much is going on. It's reassuring.
Yeah.
You start seeing how and no one's alone in anything. I've come to the conclusion. There is not one person that is living a singular experience on this planet. Like there could be circumstances that are singular, but I swear to Christ, there is not one singular experience.
No. And we're all human. We all have the same like feelings, they
just come out in different ways and they look different, but they're all the same at the end of the day. So yay. Well, thank you so much. So Alyssa, tell everyone again where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Salva Twin Squad.
Yay. And I'll make sure I tag her in the description of the podcast. That way you guys can check her out. But our DMs are always open.
Yeah.
Yay.
Mary, thank you so much. This was really important.
Always, always. Another episode down and way more to go. But thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you would like to help support this podcast, I would love for you to subscribe. I'd love for you to share it with others and post about it on your own social media or leave a rating and review. I cannot tell you how helpful and how appreciated those things are for me. Of course, to catch all the latest from me, you can follow me over on Instagram at The Very Merry Life, over on TikTok, The Very Merry Life. And even if you wanted to check out my monthly newsletter, you can do so by subscribing over at theverymerrylife.com. I'll see you next week. Stay tuned for more honest, raw, real chit chat. I have some amazing moms lined up coming on and shit's going to get fun. So buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to be good.